On this day where the A's are playing their final game in the Oakland Coliseum, I'm going to take advantage and read some of our viewer comments.
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast we talk about your Oakland A's, and we can call them that for one more day. All season long, I am your host for this year. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan, but by all means, call me Sully. I have been a baseball podcaster for a long time, and this is my sixth full season here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and we're wrapping up my time as your host here on Locked On A's. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Today's episode of Locked On A's is brought to you by Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even Sacramento and Las Vegas. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. All right, let's just get you up to speed on something here. This episode is dropping on the morning of Thursday, and I am on my way to the Oakland Coliseum. Because of a couple of things that are going on, I decided to record, just pulling back the curtain a little bit. I am recording this a few days in advance because I'm just getting myself ready for what's going to be going down on Thursday. I have a special episode planned that I expect to drop either Friday or Saturday, depending on how much time I have, about my trip to the last ever game at the Oakland Coliseum, last ever Oakland A's game at least. And then we're going to see what happens after that. But I wanted to at least have an episode to drop today. And this gives me an opportunity to go through. I've got a lot of comments over the last, 6 months that I've been doing this show. And they seem to be coming in fast and furious over the last couple of weeks. Some of them are Vegas fans who don't seem to like me. Then some of them are Oakland fans who seem to like me. And then there are some Vegas fans who seem to like me. And then there's some Oakland fans who don't like me. And then there are just people who are having some disagreements, or some people agree with what I'm saying, and also my mom. So I'm going to take advantage. This is my last episode of reading some of the viewer comments. And in the final segment, there is a big, long comment by a listener called New York in Vegas. And I wanted to read his comment in its entirety because I think he hits a lot of the same points that I'm hitting, especially about the A's at Vegas. Now, again, I can't make it any clearer. I have nothing against the people of Vegas. In fact, it is my appreciation and respect for the people of Vegas that I'm telling you, don't go do business with these Fishers. Fisher's a dope. He was born on third base, and he has no idea what he's doing and hasn't been. And again, I made this point the other day. I'll make it again. The money's not there yet, because if it was, we would know about it. So not one shovel has gone on the ground, and there's no money here except public money. Get out of business. Build the ballpark, but find another person to do it with. It's not going to be Fisher. Just knock it off. And I'm sure that got someone angry. I'm going to go through some of the viewer comments that I got on YouTube. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. I abbreviated some of them, but let's just go through them. But this one I just like, because this is Keith City said, I got suggested by the algorithm, I guess, meaning this show, this podcast. I thought we had it rough as Mariners fans. I can't imagine having your gig. This is fun. Talking baseball is fun. It's sad that it's come to this with this team, but no, don't waste any sympathy on me. And I know some of you certainly don't. I talk a lot about the Fishers, of course. Maven's Baseball writes, Bad ownership never leaves baseball. The owner of the Expos, that was the Loria, became the owner of the Marlins and continued their pattern of fire sales. Mavens Baseball went on to say that, yes, the Marlins did indeed win a World Series under his leadership, but they basically stumbled into that and just constantly did fire sales. Yeah, I to be fair, I think you're right. And you're also seeing that there are ways to spend money, ways to spend money intelligently, to put a quality product on the field, and to put your back into it. I mean, what the late Seidler did with the Padres, who I would argue they were in a worse position than the A's were in terms of the size of their market and the interest in the team. And the a wonderful stadium was created there, and the management invested in the team, and now we're seeing that they're a playoff team. Yeah, they haven't won a World Series yet, but they're contenders. They get good players there, and even when they lose players like Soto or Snell, they replace them with the Arises of the world and the Ceases of the world, and they do intelligent moves, and they get great. They have huge crowds. You know, I look at the Padres and I see what could have been with the A's if they had someone other than this dunce Fisher, um, running the thing. And I'm not the only person who thinks he's a dunce, of course. Mark Sujian, who's all the way out in Europe, writes, Johnny boy, enjoy counting your money because it will be no use when you're 6 feet under. It's to the point. That was part of a much longer piece where he was basically talking about how Fisher has been giving such incredible middle fingers to the fans, and no more middle fingers of how they've been handling the buildup to the final game and that ridiculous AI generated letter that was put out. It was like, oh, we tried. Yeah. There you go. By the way, in regards to that, when I talked about how ridiculous this is. Now, by the way, I haven't been, I'm going to the stadium today, and they are going to be handing out those vouchers for what I said looks like an ice cream cake of the Oakland Coliseum, a chintzy little trinket, a little knickknack that people will get and will wind up being found in a garage sale 15 years from now. And that they're having it, that they're not handing it out at the front gate like you do at most handouts, whether it's a bobblehead or a T-shirt or whatever. But they're giving you a voucher, and you have to bring the voucher. You have to get out of your seat in the 7th inning and go to some other place to pick up the thing. And of course, that means people won't be in their seats at the end of the game. There's Steve Peterson, who's an everyday A's listener, says the A's manager is afraid if they hand out the Coliseum replicas as people walk in, they'll have some people get sauce because throwing them on the field. Yeah, but if you get them then hand them out when you leave. That seems to be the solution there, right? Hand them out when you leave. Because you can still, you're probably, if you're going to get blotto at a baseball game, look, I don't drink, but if you're going to get blotto at a baseball game, aren't you blotto like in the 7th inning? And if you come in there, faced, and you get your little chintzy, 3D printer trinket that they're going to hand out, and you're plowed and you're angry, wouldn't you be more likely to chuck that SOB on the field then? I don't know. I think it's more to just get people out of their seats so they're not in their seats. And you could say, you see, even on the last game, they were not there. I don't know. It all seems ugly to me. And that seems to be the modus operandi of the Fishers. Come back. We got more to read, including some messages from those who are Las Vegas fans. And I don't want to forget them. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.5 APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Thanks so much for making Locked On A's your first listen this whole season. Have your second listen be my other podcast, which is Locked On MLB. I'm your pal Sully, and I'm going to get you all ready for the postseason. Who's going to go far? Who's going to go near? Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and here on YouTube. And check out the description below where they'll have the link. It's Locked On MLB, hosted by me, your pal Sully, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Let's talk to a couple of people here. This is from Ken Clue 467. The advantage that Las Vegas has is it's a vacation destination outside of baseball. Visiting team fans will attend Las Vegas A's game as part of a vacation or getaway. I get what you're saying, and there's another factor that has to come in here. Baseball, and I will say there's one thing I will caution you on here. Baseball is a local sport. Interest tends to be local. I've seen this. I've lived in Boston, in New York City. I've lived in the Bay Area. I've lived in Los Angeles County. I've been on both sides of this country, and I've been places in between. When the local team is doing well, the fan base pays super attention to it. When the local team is out of it, you can hear a pin drop when people talk about baseball. There's just complete disinterest. And so people's interest in a team tends to be local. So if you're going to be banking on people from out of town, St. Louis fans from out of town, you better hope that they show up when the Cardinals show up there. Now, where I think you may have something is the Camden Yards effect. And this is where I think Las Vegas, what they're doing with the stadium, I really think they're onto something. As I said before, when Shea Stadium was built, it was a game changer. It became a huge draw. It became the attendance at Shea Stadium was great, but there was also, people were drawn to this big modern stadium in New York that didn't feel like Ebbets Fields or the Polo Grounds or Yankee Stadium. And Shea Stadium was an asset. And then the next big seismic change happened, and to a lesser degree, I mean, when the Astrodome was made, and the fact that there was a dome stadium, that was called the eighth wonder of the world, lest we forget. And so that became an asset, became something that people wanted to go to. But when Camden Yards opened, it was such a unique experience for baseball fans, ironically dipping into nostalgia, that people went to Camden Yards for the experience of Camden Yards. They drew well even when the Orioles stunk, and they stunk for a giant chunk of time when they're in Camden Yards. Basically, if you take from the 97 ALCS, where the Orioles were very, very good in 97, right through 2012, when they made a wild card bid, they were bad almost every year in between that. But Camden Yards became a big draw because it was such a wonderful experience. Now the A's or whomever it is in Las Vegas have to make the stadium experience part of the draw. It can't just be, oh, I'm in town, the Royals are in town, I'll go see the Royals. It has to be, this stadium has to be a draw for Las Vegas. Now, a lot of this could have been, a lot of this awfulness happening with the A's this year could have been circumvented if the stadium that was built for the Raiders as the big football stadium could have been made into a multi-purpose stadium. and done so in a unique way. So it wasn't a cookie cutter park like Riverfront Stadium or Veterans Stadium, all those multi-purpose stadiums that people abhor from the 60s and 70s, even though I like them because they're my nostalgia. And like the Oakland Coliseum was a multi-purpose stadium as well. To make it so it's a unique experience and a beautiful experience and architecturally interesting, when they built the stadium for the Raiders, if it was some way you could have made it multi-purpose, the A's would be playing there next year. And while there would be anger about losing the A's and everything like that, there wouldn't be this complete chaos of sticking them in the frying pan of Sacramento with the possibility of them in Vegas. And I got to say that because there's still no money. But the attraction has to be the ballpark, because I read this somewhere. There are other entertainment options in Las Vegas. Someone else wrote something which I completely agree with. Michael Dalsky says the NBA will expand in Vegas. I'm stunned they haven't already. I'm also stunned that they haven't usurped a team that isn't doing well. But yeah, I think a basketball team in Vegas would be huge. There's already a history of basketball in Vegas with the UNLV running Rebels. It already feels like a basketball city. And basketball is a much bigger star-oriented league than baseball is. That's just a fact. And so the big stars of the NBA coming to Las Vegas has an extra charm to it. Plus, it's indoors. I absolutely believe that's one of the reasons why the Vegas Knights have done so well. Also because the Golden Knights were good right out of the gate. And they were an expansion team, and they were the first one there. The best case scenario for the A's is they'll be the third ones there. But yeah, I completely agree with that. Let's go to R.W. Thomas 111. I live in Vegas. I love my town. I love the Golden Knights. I didn't ask for the A's, but I love it as if it were Nevada born. By the way, I cut back. I mean, he wrote a big, long thing. It was really nice. But yeah, I mean, that's R.W. Thomas 111. That's exactly the type of fan that I really hope is going to be waiting for the A's or whomever when they get there. And I love that attitude. It's like, yeah, he didn't want, he said in his post he would much rather have an expansion team, but if it's the A's, he's going to be all in. And I think there's going to be I think there will be a lot of fans who will do that. I think if the fans who will grow up, who are young now, who when a baseball team arrived there, it'll just be part of their lives. Those are the ones we'll see where the devotion of the fan base is. The Prismatic Bee. Okay. Las Vegas destroyed a landmark hotel for the stadium build. The county leaders won't let it fail there. I think they're going to build a stadium there. Whether or not it's the A's playing in there is another thing. But also, if they're not going to have the stadium paid for there, they'll have something else built up there in 3, 2, 1. The county leaders want to have something there making money. And a sinkhole or money pit for a stadium with no tenant is not going to be that. Let's see. This was an interesting. Michael Dalsky, 1209, says Vegas does want an expansion team because with no salary cap, the team would be dreadful for years. Interesting statement, not based on fact. First of all, you take a look, there's no salary cap in baseball. We've gone 24 years without a repeat champion. Since 2010, 17 out of the 30 teams have made the World Series at least once. That's more than half. And by the way, of those 17 out of 30 teams making the World Series in the last 14 years, none of those teams have been called the New York Yankees. Salary cap, okay, but you see the Kansas City Royals go from 100 wins to a winning season this year, and the Diamondbacks and Rangers were 100-loss teams in 2021, and they both made the World Series last year. You see teams turn around all the time. And as for salary cap, they'll be dreadful for years. That's also not been the case of recent years. If you want to go from the Seattle Pilots way back in 1969, that was a horrible situation because they pushed the expansion back 3 years, or they rushed it 3 years to appease Kansas City, and Seattle wasn't ready for it, so they went bankrupt. Take a look at the last two expansions we had. In 1993, the Rockies and the Marlins were formed. The Rockies made the postseason in 2 years. They were formed in 93. They were in the 95 playoffs. And in 5 years, the Marlins won the World Series. So it doesn't seem like that long a time before those teams got competitive. These Arizona Diamondbacks were formed in 1998, and they won 100 games in their second year, and they won the World Series in their fourth year. Dreadful for years, not the D-backs. The exception is the Devil Rays. The Devil Rays did stink and stink with a capital stink for their first decade, but then they went on, changed their name, and they went on a great run. So I reject the premise. It sounds nice, but it's not based in reality. Here's one that's interesting. Erica G. Coley 7321. Here's a fact. Las Vegas didn't take your team. Oakland lost them. I would give the owners some blame, you think, but most of the blame goes to the liberal Oakland government. How do people bring politics into this? Did I bring politics into this? Yeah, there's a lot of red tape in Oakland. But Oakland also was like, hey, Fisher, you're a billionaire. Why are we spending hundreds of millions of dollars so you can have a palace? And the other thing is some of the red tape, California, Northern California tends to lean left. That's true. But they also tend to lean on, let's spend our public money on things other than a palace for a sports franchise owned by a billionaire who inherited it. And also the things that ended Howard Terminal and also ended some of the other spots they wanted to hit were kind of sort of environmental, like you're going to build a stadium on unsteady land. I don't know if you're aware of this. We got earthquakes in California. You really want to build a stadium on unsteady land? The place to build it would have, and I've said this the whole time, would have been either downtown San Jose or in the parking lot of the Coliseum. Let's go. There's one other thing I want to bring about. Where else is? This is not that. That's one of this one. Little Doggy 9922. Fisher is still looking for investors and flip-flop back on the financial aspect of it. I'm hoping Fisher strikes out on his ballpark aspirations. Yeah, that's not a small point. The fact that there's still no money in this. He's still looking for investors. And quite frankly, I'll believe it when I see it. We've been dealing with this for over a decade here, and there have been lots of great announcements of we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But the fact of the matter is, until I start seeing some dough, I'm not going to believe piddly-poo. Hey, this episode of Locked on A's is brought to you by Booking.com, more like Booking.yeah. Now, with Booking.com, you can explore those U.S. cities you've secretly wanted to learn more about. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you may find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city during this postseason. And I got to tell you, I use Booking.com for a fantastic trip that I took this summer. I went to Buffalo. I saw a Buffalo Bisons game there, saw some friends, drove to Niagara Falls. By the way, Buffalo, beautiful city, really beautiful city, lovely downtown. Then I got in my truck and I went to Syracuse, booked a fabulous hotel in Syracuse, went to a Syracuse Mets game, then went on the road and went all the way to Cooperstown and spent a couple of magical days in Cooperstown and stayed at a hotel on the lake in walking distance to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I got all of it through Booking.com. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any city. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home team or your rival stadium. From hotels that overlook stadiums to that great place I stayed in Cooperstown. Booking.com has all the choices you could want across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even Las Vegas or Sacramento or Kansas City or Philadelphia for that matter. Booking.com. Booking.com? More like Booking.yeah. Now, let's hear from PrizePicks. You know all about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as few as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money back in as few as 15 minutes. And PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the sports action in most states, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Hey, I'm going to read this last one here. New Yorker in Vegas. I accidentally hit his a little earlier. He started by saying, I went to a fair amount of Aviator games each season. We locals love our team and want a major league team, but we want an expansion team, not the A's. I'm going to read more of this. He said, the town selfishly does not want another Oakland hand-me-down team with an atrocious owner who won't put any money into a winning team. That's obviously a knock on the Raiders. And we, for the most part, also very much feel for Oakland fans. You're amazing, loyal, and beaten down. You deserve, and y'all deserve. He's New York or Vegas, and he's saying y'all. Y'all deserve far better than what you've gotten from politicians and billionaires across 3 sports. Most Aviator fans will check out the Strip Stadium once and on rare special occasions. The Aviators will still be Las Vegas baseball team regardless how much the city and Major League Baseball pushes the A's on us. That stadium will be empty by May in their first season in the Valley. It would be different if 1, the stadium were not on the Strip. 2, if it were an expansion team. Regardless, I'm excited to go to my first and likely ever Coliseum game on the 25th. That was yesterday. I'm a Mets fan who understands suffering under horrific owners, but remaining invested loyal. I can't wait to experience the energy and joy of some of baseball's greatest fans. Well, I hope you had fun there. And I think that if the A's do indeed go to Vegas and someone other than Fisher is running the team, I think if it's someone local, that's what you should want. If you're a Vegas fan, you shouldn't want this idiot running the team. You should want somebody local and who wants it to succeed in Las Vegas and is invested in the city of Las Vegas, which is why I think from the beginning, even though I have issues with Vegas as a potential market, if the team is there, an expansion team that's run by an owner who has invested in the city will go a long, long way. I like your point of view there, New Yorker in Vegas. I hope you had fun at the game. And by the way, if the A's do wind up going there, I hope you get the green and gold and you root for them left and also right. A couple of nice, by the way, just a couple of final ones here. Kevin Tam, 7169. This whole season's been emotional. This final homestand is like seeing your team getting moved from intensive care to hospice care. Yep. And finally, useless truckers. The Oakland A's need to go to Salem, Oregon. I'll have what you're having, whatever it is you're consuming. All right, folks. Well, that was our last look through the comments. When the new host comes in and you've been mad at me, don't get mad at the new host. Let them do it their own way. Meanwhile, follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or on Instagram. And if you want to continue following me, I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and you can subscribe to the Locked On MLB podcast. Going through the mailbag one more time before the last game today. This has been Locked On A's. I am your host for now, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.